food is, as my father said to me, food is diplomacy. It's the essence of bringing people together and the magic of the table. Giving is the biggest pleasure in life without a shadow of doubt.
Khalid Dahbi, Moroccan-British chef, luxury entrepreneur and philanthropist, turning 25 years of culinary mastery into experiences that bring the world to the table.
You don't work for money, you work for success. Simplicity is elegance, in my opinion. Luxury is elevated, it's not bored. You let the ingredients dictate the atmosphere. Fame is just a passing element. Making someone else's life better is ultimately the ultimate goal.
I'm absolutely honoured to be here this evening with the Mr. Gold, the Prince of Olive Oil himself. What's looking to be a fantastic evening, talking about culinary wonders, creativity, and really what it means to be human. So I'm here joined by Mr. Dahbi as part of the Redefine series. For those of you who are new to One Club, and if this is your first evening here with us today, the Redefine series is a curated programme of events and interviews with pioneers, visionaries, and those who are redefining what it means to be a high performer and a high achiever. And I'm joined today by a Moroccan-British chef, a luxury entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and so much more than that. Khalid Dahbi has a remarkable journey that started off in Morocco and has taken him across the world, across continents, and has seen him do so much with his creativity and culinary power. It's seen him really deliver on some of the world's finest dining tables and help communities all around the world. His journey is rooted in heritage, it's shaped by curiosity, and it's really elevated by a deep respect for the ingredients from traditions all around the world. So there's a quote by the late, great Anthony Bourdain that I want to start with this evening. He stated, "Food is everything we are." But it's not really that, is it? It's not just what's on the plate. It's more than that. It's migration, it's memory, it's community, it's togetherness, it's everything we are. And if food is everything we are, then individuals like Khalid are storytellers of who we've been and visionaries of who we're becoming. So tonight, I hope we'll explore the flavours that have shaped him, the lessons that have transformed him, and the philosophy that drives him. We'll talk about culture, craft, creativity, and the responsibility that comes with not just feeding people, but their sense of belonging. So please join me in welcoming a chef who reminds us that when we gather around a table, we're sharing far more than just a meal. So, Khalid, your story begins in the cultural capital of Rabat. What were some of the early experiences that shaped your views and your ambitions?
Good evening, everybody. Lovely to be here. That's a very interesting question. I think walking the streets of Rabat with my late father, really absorbing the atmosphere of really understanding and really appreciating the essence of ingredients. But food isn't just about eating. Food is, as my father said to me, food is diplomacy. It's the essence of bringing people together. And the magic of the table in many senses. Most importantly, respecting the origins and respecting the provenance of the ingredients and the people behind them. So I suppose after 25 years, somehow I like to be called an ambassador to the ingredients, because I've always said, there are chefs who cook for their ego, and you've got chefs who cook for their guests. And I like to be known as someone who loves to bring people around the table and celebrate those ingredients. I did a few tours around the world to celebrate ingredients, in particular here in the UK, because I love the fact that we've got more cheeses than the French, and it's just nice to go around the world and say Britain has 755 cheeses in comparison to 3-4. Of course, they didn't take it well when I was doing that in Paris. I said, "You're Moroccan, stay neutral." I said, "Well." But the humble ingredients, I mean, it's shouting out for those farmers and producers and the fishermen. And it's just nice to be a nice vehicle and an ambassador to really celebrate what's on the plate and adding justice to it. So that's really what it's been for me. It's fundamentally positioning the foundation of appreciation, of quality, and letting those elements really speak for themselves.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with your journey, you left home at 14. I read somewhere that you had ambitions of becoming an actor. So tell me a little bit about how you stepped foot in a kitchen and how that journey came about.
Well, we've always hosted. My father loved his wine, loved his food, and we've had people around the house pretty much all the time. So initially I decided, I wanted to become an actor. So I said, I'm going to go and study some drama in Switzerland, which I couldn't fulfill. Because at the age of 14, I really appreciated philanthropy. So helping others, for me, was always an element where I fundamentally understand that life's pleasure is when you give. Giving is the biggest pleasure in life, without a shadow of doubt. So I went from Switzerland to Italy in pursuit of a spot in Cinecittà in Rome. But I got refused repeatedly after 4 or 5 attempts. So I said, okay, let me go and act on a different stage. And because of the culinary background and the food and Rabat and the fish and the meat and so on, it was really easy to sort of showcase passion to get a job. Instead of these days, can you make me an omelette? So I suppose I've just acted on a different stage. 25 years later, I've opened up some incredible restaurants around the world, had an incredibly successful career here in London. The rest is just history. I suppose I'm just acting on a different stage, including today, right?
Yes, definitely. And could you tell us a little bit about some of those experiences in the kitchens? What were the learnings, what were the difficulties, and what were some of the failures, perhaps, that you had to experience in order to begin to understand what it meant to deliver a customer experience? You spoke a bit about being an ambassador for food. Do you think that came during those early years in Morocco, or do you think that began to come out during those times in kitchens across the world?
I think the early years have shaped the person that I am today. And for a start, every restaurant that I've run, I've never allowed anybody to say, he's a customer. You receive guests, and guests are diamonds, and that was the pinnacle of the structure which we imply on cycle of service, I should call it. And when you get a diamond in your hands, you're certainly not going to drop a diamond. So you take that diamond from the reception to the bar and until you sort of take them back to the front desk and say, if it's raining in particular here in the UK, sometimes, not all the time, a little gesture where you can say, here is an umbrella, because subconsciously you know that lady is going to spend 2 hours getting ready or to come to for an evening. And a lot of restaurants don't really do that. And for me, that was just a little touch where this is an experience and you are my guests and this is my house. It left an superb impact all throughout my career. So my guests are people that really come to experience. And you really sincerely just showcase your passion through the knowledge and love that you cook through, rather than sort of trying to tell your guests this is what you're going to be eating or this is what you're going to be having. No. You let the ingredients dictate the atmosphere. We don't go to restaurants to eat. We go to restaurants to perhaps elongate ourselves for a couple of hours, if we can say, from day to day. And that's really what a restaurant is all about. And a lot of people forget that if you divide the word restaurants into 2 parts, it's a place where you go and rest. Restaurant. So there's a lot of elements that really makes the experience. And, as a cook, chef, people say, what do you do? I'm a chef. What do chefs do? They cook, so I'm cooking. it's allowing them to be themselves, to experience their to really get in touch with their narrative, and we're just an orchestra for them to have a wonderful time, simultaneously without getting them to realize they've been served. It's really that feeling. And I say this time and time again, that's the true essence of what makes the restaurant successful or not. It's how you feel. Food is just an incredible vehicle in that wheel, yet the atmosphere and the service outweigh the quality of the food. 9 out of 10. I mean, you could go to restaurants where food is mediocre and service is great, you'd come back again. It's little ingredients, and I've been ever so grateful for the foundation that I've had to allow that success to seamlessly come through. So most times it's done naturally without even realizing. I mean, most restaurants that I've operated, I've wanted to make sure it's an open plan, so I can walk around and tap people on the shoulder, hey, how are you? Good to see you today. Try this, try that. What's in for today? It's that relationship, and that's really what it's. For me, it's the connection with the guests and letting them know you're going to be taken care of. And if you follow all these elements naturally, without script, people will be coming back to be in your company.
I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. And really what is at its core of what you're saying is this idea of authenticity, of human connection. And I wonder, you were talking earlier about your background. You said that you had a foundation that was so rich that allowed you to kind of build upon as you moved through restaurants. You started leading your own organisations. Do you think there was something about your cultural background or your identity that allowed you to just offer that so naturally, to build a connection with guests, to have an open plan restaurant?
The beauty of being Moroccan, I suppose. I mean, hospitality is a language. Even in business, you feed someone before you negotiate, and that's just so wonderful. Or you ask about their mothers. How's your mother? Then come, let's go and have a. So it's when hospitality is engraved, and all you understand the essence of how to make sure your guest is fully satisfied, then it becomes naturally. So it's a series of little elements that allows you to subconsciously perform. And what it tops it off is the desire to please your guests. So for me, I suppose it was just natural. And that has continued, whether I've owned restaurants, and I was lucky enough to escape just before COVID. So to have the ability to curate wonderful experiences, as you know, where I gather incredible humans and incredible souls to be around a table where you're going to love them and care for them. Whether that's, in Morocco, love is transmitted through food. And, I grew up in Italy, and it's the same language. You might not say necessarily, I love you, but sit down, let me cook something for you.
Of course, a story we know far too well. I'd love to touch on COVID, because you mentioned it just now, and for me, looking at your story, COVID served a real turning point in your career. You had spent 20-odd years in restaurants, running teams all around the world, but COVID served as a bit of a shift for you. Could you elaborate on a little bit about where your mindset was at during that time and how you began to see your journey move on to a different path?
Well, the intention, I think, 2017, I think, we partnered with this incredible group. They wanted to invest in Khalid, and they wanted to invest in the vision or new modern way of dining. And everything we've sort of tapped on. So I've created a concept called Beso. Beso, it's kiss in Spanish or bacio in Italian. And the menu really was a little bit of a journey on my travels. And we had, our first unit was in Covent Garden. And it was fantastic because same principle which we applied from day one. The restaurant was incredibly busy and everybody came in to have a great time, and incredibly consuming because you have to be there physically 7 days. I should have done that before. Hi, Mum. And it's those that never call, and they always. I suppose I had a feeling that something was about to erupt. And although it was superbly successful, I took the decision to say to my partner, I just want to extract my investment. You take the glory. I just want to take a little, not so much of a break. I mean, after 2013, I was in Switzerland and I opened an incredible venture, which was really successful. And again, utilizing the same principles. This was in Verbier, 2013, a humongous 4-story building, but a simple, on-point establishment where we've used some wonderful ingredients, simple service, and the restaurant was pretty much full every single day. Then I came back to the UK. That's when I started my other ventures, such as the caviar and what have you. So it was pretty hard, because I'll leave my office at 4, and then you'd rock up to the restaurant at 5, and stuff will be in your face. You know, I want a pay rise, I want this, I can't come tomorrow. And you've got guests coming in from all around the world. So physically consuming. But my instinct said something is about to happen, and I took my investments out. And that's when COVID hit. And I suppose I was lucky. I was fortunate to be liberated, perhaps, yes. Right after that, I mean, a lot of my good friends have kept asking, you know, where can we have your food? Where can we have you? You know, food is a vehicle, but I think generally it's the feeling that you're able to create around the table. Then I think what you're leading up to is the curated gatherings. Initially, we started calling them retreats, but I suppose if I say retreats now, people will think we'll be smoking olive branches and doing yoga at 5 o'clock in the morning. No, far from it. We started, I call them experiences or gatherings simply because it's allowing wonderful humans to come to a space that I curate. You know, I'm cooking for pleasure, and it's just a pleasure it's a mini restaurant somewhere around the world. So we've been to Marrakesh a few times, we've been to Italy, we've been to Spain, we're doing Argentina at the end of the year, we've got we're going into northern part of Spain in May. No more than 12 guests, regardless of their background, and it's not about opening a high net worth or what they have, it's just wonderful humans who want to come and really have some meaningful relationships, meaningful conversations over great food. And the rest is just history. And for the last 7 years, I thought, you know, we'll do 1, 2, and now it's 5, and that's the maximum that I can really organize, because it takes a humongous chunk out of my time, because I really mean to do them well, and they bring so much joy. And we've had some wonderful humans coming in from far and wide. They've gone to become really great friends. They've gone to genuinely do business. Because after 3 days, people just absolutely relax. And for someone like me, to see these people relax in your company, and all I do, I suppose, long table, like, eat, try this, especially for the Americans. There's no ketchup on the table, unless it's past 3 o'clock in the morning. But no, generally it's just that vibe that it's naturally created. Initially, I was putting them out as come and have a great time, and let's gather around the best villa and we'll have some caviar, the most expensive wine, whatever that is. But I quickly understood that people were looking for relationships. They were looking for genuine encounters. And I suppose we take up to 3 to 4 months to really select the right individuals to be in that environment for everyone else to relax. And by day 2, 3, people just really open up to one another. And 7 out of 10 people are in the kitchen having, dancing around the table with a glass of wine. So you don't even have to form it to be so formal. And for me, it's just such a joy to see people really open up and be themselves. I say leave business out, because that will naturally occur. And I suppose, people have gone on to become really great friends for the last 6-7 years. So we've created a wonderful club. And today, when I connected with Vicky, it was just, I suppose, what you saw in me is just the passion of why I love bringing people together. And we use a bit of meat and fish, and we cook it with plenty of olive oil. But it sincerely is the energy. I mean, joking aside, it's the energy that allows me to see genuine in individual. And it's just wonderful.
It is wonderful, and actually it's really nice that you've brought that to light in this community, because I couldn't think of a more fitting place to talk about connection, belonging and community. One Club is very much founded in exactly that. And I wonder whether you could tell us a little bit more about what those experiences do and the importance of community and togetherness for you. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your time in Argentina, perhaps, at this point, as I know that was a rather formative time for you when you're musing on such experiences.
Yeah. I think, look, I suppose our main topic is luxury, and I think luxury with meaning, a meaningful luxury is really what it's all about. And I discovered that through my caviar business. When you're sincere behind the products or what it is that you do, it automatically and naturally really rolls out. Don't try to impress. Don't try to be. Let the product speak for itself. I think generally when it comes to luxury, 90% of the elements behind success is allowing, I suppose, allowing the simplicity of the energy between the consumer and the product, because it's elevating. I mean, luxury is elevated, it's not bought, and it's certainly not something that you can prescribe. And it resonates far more when it's meaningful. And I think the current structure of the current market at the moment, throughout what's happening with social media and what have you, generally people can see what's real and what resonates. And I think we can define the simplicity is elegance, in my opinion. So when you've got a fundamental structure where you're not trying to impress, you are just defining the purpose of that experience. For me, that's where luxury meets elegance. And 9 out of 10 is unspoken. It's body language, it's the it's just so many layers. When I started my caviar business, I was, we've made all the mistakes that you can make in understanding how to be involved in such a market. But then it quickly toppled down because all the ingredients were there for me, and I didn't really have to do anything besides being genuine. And I think this is what consumers are looking for at the moment. 90% of most successful relationships are based on how well, not only the energy, or may I say the vibes, go on, but 7 seconds is sufficient enough to know whether you want to conduct something with an individual. Caviar is just a vehicle, or whatever that might be. So experience, ultimately I'll place that last, but genuine foundation of what this is going to allow you to experience through our connection, it's unstoppable. It's meaningfully it expands. Because I went to a degree where I don't want my clients just to simply buy caviar. It's caviar with purpose, it's caviar with huge, incredible quality, but then how can we retain relationships? So by creating this dynamic circle of ecosystem of they trust you, they like you, the quality is undoubtedly wonderful, and so on and so forth and so forth. All you've got to do is just position yourself right in the middle, and then it filters down beautifully, naturally. And 9 out of 10, you've got to do nothing just besides, as I said, just being genuine.
I love that. I really enjoy the fact that you've highlighted that consumers today are seeking increasingly value with purpose. And in light of this, we're seeing more and more superficiality, luxury being posited as excess. With your world of caviar, which is often seen as the epitome of luxury, how do you think one should balance innovation with purpose in order to convey value?
Being absolutely genuine. The consumer market at the moment isn't about how expensive or how not. And I think, if I relate back, well, there's two elements. I mean, you've mentioned Argentina. So I used to be the executive chef for Gauchos, and I loved Gaucho. I mean, the best meats, the wine culture is just incredible. And I joined, and within 3 months, I was giving them some really good numbers. And for the obvious reason, which was, open plan kitchen, I opened more London, and I said, I'm not going to take over the site unless I have an open plan kitchen because I want to connect with my guests. We were hitting £500,000 a week by simply having people who just enjoy the conversation and come back. But then after 4 months, they've said to me, Khalid, we'd love to send you to Argentina. Sure, great. It took 14 hours to get there. And, had breakfast, lunch, snacks, and we still didn't get there. And, you wish you can sit next to someone interesting. And that's really the lottery. But the moment we landed, Argentina was really an eye-opener. The three main aspects of what really makes Argentina is Italian, Spanish, and French. So you're walking down an avenue, you feel like you're in Paris, you turn left. You're in Saragossa, and you turn right. You're in Italy. And the pasta in Argentina tastes so much better than in Italy. I can back that up simply because in Italy they have 00, dopo zero. In Argentina they have 40, so the pasta, it's so fine, so light, as they say, it flies. But the one thing I took away from Argentina is the simplicity, because I suppose Mr. Godek, who I appreciated so much, he said, we're not French. Because at the start I was all about the lines and trying to cover every steak with foie gras sauce and so on. So they used to send this master griller, Mr. Ramon, I think, I remember. We got on really well, straight from start. So after service, we'll sit and he'll order 300-gram steak and I'll order 300-gram steak. He'll have his with some salt and a glass of wine. I'll have mine with foie gras sauce or peppercorn sauce or this. Then he'll go, Khalid, why are you putting peppercorn sauce on the steak? It's peppercorn sauce, it's foie gras. He goes, yeah, but you haven't tasted the actual beef. 3 weeks in Argentina, the more beef you eat, the more beef you want to eat. The more Malbec you drink, the more Malbec you want to drink. It's philosophy. And I came back with the essence of understanding what simplicity is all about. So it sort of reinforced my belief in ingredients. And this was 15 years ago. And that's the same trend that I've carried out. You position what really matters, and that's ingredients. So when I do my tastings with caviar, I don't go buy the beluga because it's really expensive. It's having that genuine conversation. So 9 out of 10 will open 4 tins, so we produce 4 sturgeons. And most of the times, people want to sell you the most expensive. I forgot it today, I promise. Every time I meet my friend Milda, says, where's my caviar? Oh, I forgot again. And I think, what really worked in our favor is being genuine, because the quality is there. And I tirelessly worked for the last 5 years to produce something sensational. And by sensational it's great quality caviar. And great caviar is the quality of the water. So the higher the mineral concentrations, the better. And of course the feed and the welfare and what have you. And what we do, we open up 5 tins and we say, taste, and taste, and taste. And of course the beluga is there. And so is the Bayeri, which is, the least expensive. 7 out of 10 people go for the least expensive because this is what resonates with their palate. So after we do so, people give you the utmost respect because you're not generally trying to upsell them something. And for me, that's really where fundamental formations of friendship and trust is built, because it's not luxury over substance, it's luxury with meanings. And it's just being simple and integral to your passion. Because there's people who, caviar, there's three categories of people who likes caviar, who appreciate it for what it is. Some people buy it for the sake of it's caviar, and some people buy it because it's expensive. So sharing that simple knowledge does an incredible trick. And I'd say simplicity, integrity, and quality.
Do you think that's easily translated into the customer or the guest experience?
No one is stupid. I think in luxury, you form a relationship before you sell a product. People don't buy products for the sake of the price tag. People buy connection. And they buy the experience that not only comes with it, but what they're going to get out of it right after. It's a meaningful connection. And 90% you're not actually physically talking about the product. It's how you make that person feel towards the experience and how genuine you are.
So you've touched on a couple of things that I think some people in the room might find relevant. We've got lots of founders, lots of entrepreneurs, and I think I'd like to touch on a little bit about leadership here. So you've come out of restaurants, you've been managing large corporations, you've been to Argentina, and you enter this world of luxury, and you begin to craft this ideology of luxury with meaning, and providing customers with a really beautiful experience. How do you think your leadership style changed when you started to move across different continents and working with different people?
Very good question.
Well, thank you, Khalid.
I think you got to rise up, and you got to put in the elements of what allows you to define your leadership. Leadership is not earned, it's tailored, I would say. It's how you can continue chipping at the rock for your own personal excellence. So I think when you set boundaries of objectives, and that's something that you have to transmit throughout the team, it becomes effortlessly simple, because you don't have to train. It's the energy that allows you to lead, but then leading, you have to lead yourself before you lead anybody else. And I think elevating the main elements that makes you a leader, I can only put it down to get up, resilience, be hungry for success. I try to avoid the word passion because I think it's widely overused, especially with chefs. Why do you want to be a chef? I'm passionate. About what? About an onion? Yes. And far away from saying, can you make me an omelette? It's simply how hungry you are for success, and to allow yourself moments where you can really keep crafting and chipping at your own diamond. And you learn something every day, undoubtedly. I mean, I think waking up with an open mind when you put in the ingredients, for me, it's the desire to succeed, because you don't work for money, you work for success. Money is, without a shadow of a doubt, the byproduct, and it filters down to the essence of what really makes you get up.
And for you, what makes you get up? What gives you inspiration? What keeps you hungry and driving that machine?
Well, I'm sure my fellow friends would, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. It's easy to open up a company, but to get it to success and to where it needs to be, it's challenging. So I suppose you form a set of babies, and you have to continue nurturing them. It's one you fundamentally love, and I mean love, and fundamentally you want to succeed at what you do. That in itself is a desire to perfect. And I suppose, personally, I mean, I've created this ecosystem where it's joyful to be doing what I'm doing, and you just want to be better at it. So it's crafting those elements of shaping up the success as we see it. It's almost like saying, how can I be better? Or, you know, there's this mindset that I've started implementing, you know, over the last 3 months. Or you say, can I be in that 80% frame where I'm dedicated to complete what's necessary, and being in that percentage of ticking the boxes, and by 3-4 o'clock I've done what's really important. And then the 80% is superb if anybody can achieve that, and then you allow that 20% just for personal noise, and that could be anything. Scrolling, someone saying, you know, I'm passionate about cooking. It's the hunger to continue to be able to continue to want to be able to be successful.
And do you have any helpful frameworks or principles when you've got that hunger and you've got that feeling in you that's like, I want to do this, I want to do that, you know, I've really got a plan and a sense of drive. Do you have frameworks or guiding principles when you're entering new opportunities or perhaps evaluating new markets you may want to enter?
I think clarity within it's fundamentally important. It's how you keep yourself on that track and self-motivated without external noise. Beyond belief, I mean, for me, it's so rewarding. But it's structure. I think without structure, you're not able to do anything. So defining what next month, defining first quarter, and whatever that is, and making sure that every move has an impact, a positive impact. So who we meet, who we exchange, who we give our times to, that's really fundamental. It's essentially waking up and being grateful for the fact that you're able to do so much more. And I can simply tie that to my philanthropic work. And people say, what drives you? I mean, simple foundation for me, it's giving, it's an essence of pleasure. So I suppose I start by saying, I'm grateful to wake up, to have the opportunity to make someone else's life better. And again, this goes back to my roots, goes back to my father who, there's just so much I've learned and I've absorbed. Again, goes back to those wonderful foundations that I am able to go back now and tap on to either this or that. I mean, it's to be able to be in a position where you self-drive. That's, for me, that's the most powerful thing. When you can really block excess noise, and the internet at the moment is flooded with inspirational quotes, or you can simply sort of categorize them as you wish, but to have the strength to strengthen your mind when you wake up in the morning, I find that so powerful. And everybody's capable of doing that.
Yes, they are. And I think what's really interesting here is there's sort of a neat duality at play with what you're saying. This idea of self-drive, self-motivation, waking up and feeling hungry to do something, to self-improve, to develop, to continue and build upon what you've done, but also this idea of maktub. The title of your book, it loosely means something that's written, destiny, fate. Do you think that's intertwined with your purpose or something innate or something that you're continually crafting?
100%. There's just huge There's just so much in relations. And I suppose all I'm trying to paint is the essence of destiny is written. We can't really define that, but we can work towards success without shadow of a doubt. And I think success is what you define, and not only nobody else can interfere in that. So if you can get to the point where you can really self-drive, self-energize, and really put away all the external noise, God, you're in a powerful position.
You are. And we've got lots of people in the room who are driving towards something, who are seeking to create great impact. They're seeking longevity. Do you have any piece of advice for those in the room who have a goal and they're just a little bit stuck on how to get there? Seasoned with gold.
Seasoned with gold. Start. And for the love of God, just start. And, I'll go back and say the same thing. Just block any extent. Fail. Start, fail. Just do. Talk less. To yourself, and I'm not implying this on people. Talk to yourself, but then talk less to yourself. I think the proverb of action speaks louder than words really infinitely sort of works here, because you draw yourself out of bed to achieve something you have thought about in simple terms. Well, then you can say to yourself, well, if I can think about it, I can dream it, then I can action it. So it's just going from face to face and keep it. Simplicity is elegance in many ways. Keep your thoughts clean and just simplify the process as to what is it that you want to achieve, and begin, because the biggest failures, the biggest regrets for those who fail are perhaps for those who haven't tried. So failing is the start of success, in my opinion. And God, you will fail, but you will fail and tell no one, but you'll succeed and tell no one either. And for me, it's when you go back to bed and you subconsciously say to yourself, oh, I've ticked a few boxes today. You're not trying to impress anybody. You've marched forward. And for me, those are the footsteps of anybody who's... You can't define hunger. Hunger is the ability to really tick the boxes. One step, 1 inch, one march. Everything else will fall in.
And I like this idea of self-development and self-improvement, that you'll fail quietly and you'll continue to do that. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about perhaps your perception of success and how, if that's changed from how you would define it perhaps 10 years ago to how you'd define it today.
Another very good question.
Seasoned with gold.
Seasoned with gold. You've got to explain the gold story, because everybody's probably thinking, what's this seasoned with gold element?
Seasoned with gold, as you'll know, is Mr. Dahbi's book, Maktub. His surname is Dahbi, which means, of course, gold. And we like to think there's a sprinkle of it in everything he does.
I suppose. So my ancestors had a bit of gold, not much, and hence the name. So I was fortunate to have golden. So when Salt Bay started putting gold on his steak, I said, no, you don't know how it's done. And that's where the nickname Mr. Gold came in, because you've got the real Mr. Gold who puts gold on. So that was a little bit of a phase throughout London. I suppose I just did it to quieten people out. Not people, but a few, because you've got gold everywhere at the moment. And one of the reasons why I left, because the family were somehow, done well for themselves, and I didn't want to be attached to that legacy. So I'm 46. I've got a golden name, but no gold, unfortunately. A golden heart. And that was the spirit behind Maktub. Maktub means destiny. A great friend of mine, Virginia Di Gaetano, who has known me for some years, and she said, we've got to put your story together. And she spent 2 years going back and forth from Italy to Switzerland and so on, and we composed this incredible story. And when it's written as a third person, so by the time I got to read my own story, I was in tears. Dynamic journey of this young man who left at the age of 14 and went to Naples and tried to be an actor and couldn't, long story short, it's an interesting story of resilience, of hard work, migration, identity, heritage. Does a lot of gives a lot of gratitude to my native Morocco and UK, which is my home, and it's an incredible story of someone who's trying to be successful and trying to find his way through life, seasoned with gold.
I love it. I think it's fantastic, and I also love this idea of constantly crafting, transforming, thinking about who you are, and this idea that identity is not something fixed, it's fluid, it's constantly changing, and it ties in so much with what you're talking about with this hunger to continually self-improve, to do something new. And I wonder, when you're curating these events and these experiences for your guests, for your friends, for those in your immediate network, how do those ideas about self-improvement, inspiration and creativity that you've gained from your own journey, from 14-year-old boy to luxury entrepreneur and everything in between, what nuggets from that journey are you able to offer your guests and friends when you take them on their experiences?
What I've fundamentally noticed is that people absorb your energy more than they absorb your words. So it's how you behave, how you interact, and how you make people feel loved. So, and I suppose I do that. Let's just be honest. We either in the entrepreneurial market or generally as humans. Or at least if I can speak for myself. Either I'm going to love you and cook for you and hug you and so on, or I don't. There's just no in-betweens. And I don't think, in particular in luxury, you can't afford to be insincere. Because people look at you before they look at your product. And it's an experience. So if it's not genuine, it's never going to materialize. And I think 6 years ago, I was trying to, not to impress, but I was trying to, not so much pitch, but I was trying to further elevate. But I suppose what I've learned, the more you relax, my guests relax in my energy. So a lot of these trips, I'm just holding a glass of wine and smiling. And
I see now why you and Vicky get along so well.
Well, I shared the story of a great friend of mine, of ours from the States, a superb figure who, crazy busy life. And we were in Marrakesh, and after, day 3, he said, "Khalid, thank you, this is amazing." And I said, "Yeah, with pleasure." Because, no, you don't understand. First time in my life, I haven't looked at my phone. I've not been possessed with phone calls of investments and so on and so forth. And the more wine we drink, thanks for the selections of food and wine, because the more we drink, the more my blood pressure lowers. So awesome, more drinks. This has been an absolutely changing experience. And that's really when it hits me. It's not what you put on the table, it's the energy, it's your subtle aura of pleasing. When it's almost like saying, "I'm going to hug you without hugging you." And that is, I define that in setting the scene. So hospitality, it's such a wonderful topic, because either you love it or you don't love it. And I suppose the reason why Vicky and I, we spoke once, and I just felt we were going to connect. And I suppose that's generally what it is. And I'll tailgate it to luxury. It's just being absolutely genuine. And I fundamentally believe the next 5 years will define who's successful and who's not, because genuine, simplistically on point with luxury are those who are going to stand out. I think AI is going to detriment, and it's already doing so, the human relationship. So anything experiential in our modern age at the moment, anything that is human and sincere, I think within 2 years is going to overlap anything that's to do with the screen. That's just my vision. I think. Oh, hello. So lovely to see you. This man is amazing. Oh, do you know? He brings back. So we were in Marrakesh, sunny Marrakesh. Sorry, I'm not going off topic, am I? Oh.
No, introduce your friend. We'd love to know who this is. Hey!
Super embarrassing. Hello, please continue to listen to the highlight for you, right?
No problem. Well, we were just talking about these wonderful circles. So last time we met, we were in sunny Marrakesh. I was in some shorts, so in my element. Curly hair, shorts, glass of wine, and just walking around feeding everybody. And I think, it was, wasn't it? I am. They eat. Well, sharing is love, isn't it? For me...
He's also a chef, so he sort of has to feed people, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, but there are chefs and chefs, so this guy actually personally takes huge delight in really indulging you with the food, the story, everything, the history, the passion that comes when he feeds you is special. I've been on the receiving end many times.
Oh.
So, from champagne to caviar to cuts of meat. Lucky you. Yes.
You're all invited. But I suppose you came in at the perfect time, actually, because you just sort of camouflaged or summarized everything we've spoke about, and that is the table. Everything starts from the table. The right energy, the right people, the simplicity, the good ingredients, and the love that really sincerely begins to circulate just by doing the right steps. And so I say, let's eat, and then let's do business. If we don't do business, let's hug, let's be friends. It sort of trickles naturally and organically on itself. If that answers your...
Yes, definitely. And I also want to talk a little bit about what it means to be authentic and genuine, and how you manage to balance that with providing an experience for those around you. In an age of sort of instant gratification, we're inundated with sights, sounds, information from all different directions. We've almost become desensitized to things around us, even up to a restaurant. We're not so much going there to even experience the food. It's more chasing a name, chasing a star, chasing, whatever it is. How do you transmit that energy and share that aura, as you were mentioning earlier? And is there a way that you stay grounded and sort of work on that energy within in order to share it with those around you?
Absolutely. I think things are shifting, and from my own experience, I think being genuine is fundamentally what's going to lead the front four. People have had enough, it's not sustainable. I could say it's not sustainable. Choose your circle. Choose your elements. Choose who you want to resonate with. And necessarily, you don't want to be in a circle where you just need to impress. So, and that really is tied on to what we define success as, because what's the point of being somewhere where you constantly have to impress? That's an incredible void. That's an incredible hole that you are looking to plummet continuously. For what purpose, I don't know. But the moment you can justify that self-gratification, and you know your objectives, you know what you want to achieve, it's so naturally, beyond belief. When you're in Davos, high-value entrepreneurs, they'll move away the moment you say, "Hi, how are you?" Because a good conversation doesn't start with "Hi, how are you?" It's pedantically overused. It's meaningless. So it's striking that balance where your energy defines, your energy and your aura defines your first question. besides even saying anything. And that's that form of attraction, for me, it's organic, and it's fundamental, and it rubs on very well. So be yourself, and let your aura and energy accentuate. You won't even need to attract. It's just there, I think. Well, I know.
Who knows? And I wonder, you've achieved such a great amount, Khalid. You've worked in luxury entrepreneurship with Caviar, curated these wonderfully engaging and inspiring retreats or, experiences for your friends and for guests and for those all around the world. And I wonder, what is it that you're curious to learn more about? What does the next step or the next level look like for you?
In simple terms, just people. How we can create and develop, and when I say create, just create those incredibly wonderful moments that allows us to be powerful. What I found in, if I take, for instance, these experiences, I call them the mini boardrooms, where we're allowed to be ourselves. The results are undoubtedly successful. And just the ability to learn more and be humble to absorb more information and energy and culture and knowledge, exchanging many elements of what makes us so wonderful in the world. For me, it's so satisfying. So it's just creating those opportunities where you're meeting new energies and new experiences. It's satisfying, and I want to do so much more of that, and enlarge this incredible group of genuine human beings that I've managed to, had the pleasure to connect with. I think it can only get better, and for me, it's wonderful and it's positive, and when you are sincere to yourself, the results are just simplistically magnificent.
I couldn't agree more. I think for me, the major takeaways from what you were saying are, wherever possible, be yourself. Be your most authentic self. When it comes to cooking, let Mother Nature do the talking.
Yeah.
And wherever you go, whoever you meet, don't be afraid to speak, to ask questions, and to learn as much as possible and be a sponge. Absorb it all, because you don't know where that next step will take you. And with that, I think we'll open the floor to any questions from our guests and members. Khalid.
You have to answer the questions.
I'm not trying to run away.
I have a question to kick us off. Would you describe your perfect meal?
That's always.
If you were on death row, what would it be that you'd have?
That's always a very hard question. Some really good langoustines from Scotland, some melted butter, and if I say salad, you're going to think.
Yeah, I'm not buying the salad.
No, exactly. I knew that was coming. Do you know what? It's just, again, celebrating these wonderful ingredients. I think, seafood out of Scotland is probably the best thing ever. So, some scallops. Death row, right? Okay, scallops, langoustines, a bit of smoked salmon on the side, and a wedge of lemon. There we go.
Wonderful. Do we have some more questions? Charles.
Hi there. By the way, amazing story. Amazing story. I want to ask you, while you was on your journey, what was there a mindset that, as you was explaining about having the hunger and stuff like that, but I'm sure during your journey you had to have moments that you was questioning whether what you was doing was authentic luxury, and then how did you then find out what was authentic luxury to you to get to that answer So I thought it would be interesting to know.
It's, treat it as a recipe. So you have your ingredients and you have a method. And along the way, you're going to stumble. Just like it's like in life. I mean, we have a shoulder for good deeds and we have a shoulder for when we're naughty. So you're inevitably going to doubt yourself. That little demon is always going to pop up. But it's learning the methods and I call it tiramisu. Tiramisu in Italian is pick me up. So whenever you get lost, just say, I'm going to give myself a little tiramisu. Not, if you can have both, you can. But it's the pick me up moment that you learn without leaning on anything else. And when I say anything else, that could be in the form of a nagging person or someone who just wants to inspire you for no reasons or whatever. But if you can learn how to re-elevate yourself to that momentum, it's an unstoppable power. You will get those moments, and you get them every single day. When we're tired, when we're negative, when we're this, when we're that. It's constant. The defining moment is how can you tiramisu yourself every single day. So see, sometimes being a cook, you can really get away with using food as terminology. So it's like, see you next week, but we'll see, season it well. Let it marinate for a bit. Marinate your thoughts over it. And that's exactly what you do. Because when you get to that moment, just marinate some thoughts. And then reflect, and then the tiramisu comes along. Always a pleasure. We need more salt than sugar. So I say, well, what's the title of the book? Life Seasoned with Gold. It wasn't my idea, but I went along with it. Great question, by the way.
Hello. I so enjoyed that. Thank you. It was so soulful. And as we were just talking, I just heard the song Spoonful of Sugar. And I think that was really special about Mary Poppins and the Sherman Brothers because they brought a lot of soul. Anyway, that's my ADD brain. My question for you is when you're talking about bringing people together, and it's almost like a form of like them being guests, and it's like diplomacy, and like you're creating this family environment. I love that. And I think that is the key to world peace. Have you thought about world leaders having this experience? Because I feel like you're a role model, you're setting a standard that is the new norm, and there are some great leaders out there that also could join you with this and curate these environments and tables, to lead to a discussion, like a global discussion. I feel like food it's so spiritual, like it's a bridge, and but I feel like we all play a role, and I see your path and your mission. I know you already do this, but to take it further, what do you see as next? Because I see it's really powerful what you're doing.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. It's a very good question. I think I'll begin by saying right above my desk, I have a picture that says, with a nice message that says, let it grow organically. And I think, taking things step by step is undoubtedly the way forward. And, if you want to continue to be genuine, is when you let things organically manifest. So I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I think, I don't know where this is going to go, but I think as long as I continue to feel I'm adding value and being true to my inner objectives and who I am, because, as I said earlier, you can call it success, but I think how we determine success or how we value success, it's a broad sea. But for me to be satisfied on a day-to-day basis on what I'm doing and the impact that I'm having on myself and onto others, it's only a pleasure. I don't know where this is going to lead, but as long as we can contain it, and Vicky is primarily great at doing that, I'm sure it will have a greater impact.
Well, you just being you and shining your light is already making such an impact.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Do we have one last question? Well, do we have... Okay, two last questions.
Thank you so much for your talk. It was so interesting and inspiring. And I think you touched a lot on your why you do what you do, what drives you, and how you want to make people feel. But I would really like to know what you want your legacy to be, what you want to be remembered by. Is it by the things you did, the way you made people feel, and in your own words, just that?
That's pretty easy for me because I'll go back to my father who, he installed this value of giving and doing some for others. I mean, I went to Rabat 6 months ago, and I went to see my aunt, who lives in this wonderful building, an old man who sat by the front door, and I said, I'm going to see my aunt. He goes, what's her name? I said, Dahbi. He goes, oh, so he looked at me with a gazing eye, and he said, what's your name? And my name is Khalid Dahbi. He goes, what's your father's name? I said, my father was Khalid Dahbi. And he started crying, so I said, what's the matter? Is everything okay? He goes, I remember your dad, on summer days, he'd walk past when it's really hot. He'd cross over to the shop and he'd buy a soft drink and he'd say, here we go, it's cold, it's hot. Quench your thirst. That resonated. So for me, legacy, it's what can we leave behind? How well have we done? How much value we've added? Making someone else's life better is ultimately the ultimate goal. And that's really what I want to be remembered. Fame is just a passing element. But legacy of being good at others, it's really what I want to thrive for. Thank you.
Hello? Yeah. Thank you. Really interesting. And I think it seems like you've picked up a lot from people around you on your years with what you're doing. In the context of when you started your businesses, left them, decided when to leave, obviously you had the insight you felt something coming before COVID to leave. What's the best piece of advice you've received in terms of growing your business, and what's the worst piece of advice you've received which you've avoided? I think in business right now, it's about the intuition of knowing what's right. And there's two elements to that. One is gut feeling, and B is knowing trends and providing something. Really depends on what structure and business that is. But generally, I think it's just about being genuine to what you desire to launch and how well of an impact that will have. For me, that's a recipe for success. If you go into business without understanding that what you got is... if your gut is leading you somewhere else where your objectives differ, then that's a recipe for disaster. So I'd say brain, mind, soul, and then guts. 9 out of 10, they'll do the trick. And if you can really make an impact by providing the experience that comes in within, and that's the aura, the experience, the product, and the person behind it, rest assured, you'll be smiling.